I want to urge Nigerians to continue to watch Osasu Show, which will be very informative.
Keep watching Osasu Show. As a matter of fact, it's the best show so far, so good.
Continue to watch the Osasu Show.
I want you to keep watching the Osasu Show because it is special.
Keep watching the Osasu Show. She's absolutely brilliant.
The Osasu Show, anchored by the new improved Chief Osasu Ibidedion. I recommend it to each and every one of us.
I'm on the set of the Osasu Show. Keep watching the Osasu Show.
I want to call on Nigerians, home and abroad, and international community to keep watching Osasu Show. Fantastic show for that matter, anchored by a thoroughbred professional who has traveled far and wide to bring governance closest to the people.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. Last week we showed you our year in review. This week will be a continuation of that episode. As I said, we covered a plethora of topics in our documentaries pertaining to issues everyday Nigerians face in this country. We also had interviews that brought out the economic challenges and the sustainability of governance across the nation. Later on in the program, we'll be showing you snippets of our events that also occurred this year in 2019. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very educative episode. "2019 has been a year of informative, educating and compelling interviews and documentaries. We produced several informative documentaries and interviews regarding the state of our nation. From maternal mortality to the prevailing rate of suicide in Nigeria, our documentaries honed in on these critical issues that affect everyday Nigerians. Later on in the year, we held the third edition of the Osasu Show Symposium, themed The 21st Century Woman and Her Role in National Development.
The 21st century woman is no less a woman. However, she has evolved. She has allowed her cares to be known. She has allowed her voice to be heard. Today, deliberations will focus on the cares of that woman, what she has experienced, and what she hopes to bequeath to younger girls who will come afterwards.
Nigeria have not prospered. And if you look at our trajectory, all the people who have ruled us, not governed, we have never been governed. We have been ruled over the years, are men.
Money politics is really one thing that is really making women go down. We can't even compete with the men. And this has a very long negative history.
The way Nigerian politics is structured right now, I don't see money politics going anywhere anytime soon.
We have been able to make the case that there is no way we can achieve any kind of development without the full and equal participation of women.
We're coming up to talk about things we will do for women. And I expected we should be talking about what we've done so far for women.
If we say it's a government for the people, by the people, and of the people, then are we really living up to that definition if half of the people are not allowed to participate in that process?
We need to appoint more women. But I have a lot of women appointed in my government in various capacities. But I think it's more tasking. It's much more fundamental when you support a woman to get elected.
To go beyond what men are prepared to offer, the women must stand toe to toe and say, we have the capacity to make it happen for women.
We must acknowledge the incredible work that the forebears of feminism in our country have done. But we must ask ourselves, despite the enormity of the work they have done. How come we are still at 6.4% representation for women?
It's only an educated woman like you all are doing that can play these roles. So we can't get tired of talking about education.
When she's educated, when girls, women are educated, there is a greater chance of escaping poverty, leading healthier and more productive lives, and raising the standard of living children, families, and communities. I would like to emphasize that more needs to be done in terms of ensuring freedom from all forms of discrimination against the girl child. Governments and societies must do the needful if true freedom is to be won. Policies have been put in place. Promises have been made. Now it is time to put the words to action and make real progress.
At this program, we also launched the initiative of the Osasu Show Foundation, tagged the 21st Century Women and Girls Project 2020 to 2030.
The project which we're launching today, which is the Women and Girls Project, the 21st Century Women and Girls Project 2020 to 2030, is going to last the span of 10 years, 1 decade. We're going to see that girl-child education, maternal health, women in leadership and politics, violence against women, and girl-child marriage is critically looked into.
Boys and girls, please put your hands together for the CEO and the founder, Ms. Osasu Show. Keep clapping. Put your hands together for her. Keep clapping.
This party is to encourage you to keep up your good grades. Children who are educated can do anything. Anything you want to become, as long as you have good education, which the Osasu Show Foundation is providing to you today, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. If you want to be president, if you want to be governor, if you want to be a businesswoman or a businessman, you can accomplish it irrespective of your gender. Just pay attention in school, listen to your teachers, be obedient students, and follow what you're passionate about. Anything you're passionate about, if you work hard, you can achieve it.
Oh, baby.
So today we have about 150 children, I think a little more, that we're currently sending to school. We're sending over 150 children to school, but we have only about 150 here today celebrating with us. This is just to encourage them to say, okay, you've done so well this academic year, and we're inspiring you to do even more. Some of them, their guardians are here with them, and they can go back home and tell their siblings, look, we just came from a very nice party after such a stressful school year. So it's just our way of rewarding them, because we believe that every child who does good should be rewarded, so they are aware that good deeds are rewarded in our society.
Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Joining me right now is the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State, Seriki Dixon. Thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You're an advocate for restructuring. Can you tell me why and what benefit Bayelsans will derive if we restructure this country?
These days, I don't like talking about restructuring because there's a feeling by some people that the entire notion of restructuring doesn't make sense. If we're serious about a stable, prosperous Nigeria, then I thought that everybody should be talking of not whether we should restructure, but how do we? But the argument from people in the federal government, the argument from some people is as if there's nothing to restructure about Nigeria. These days, my dear sister, we are passionate about Nigeria, and if people feel that Nigeria is perfect the way it is, I just hope that they are also as patriotic about this Nigeria that we are concerned about as we are.
But let's touch right now on resource control. In an interview you granted previously, you said oil blocks are the ancestral givings of the Niger Delta. Is this really how you feel?
That's not only how I feel, that is the truth.
So you believe that since oil is mostly found in the Niger Delta regions, only Niger Deltans should benefit from it?
No one is saying that oil resources should only be enjoyed by the people of the Niger Delta. No.
Okay.
That's not what we mean. What we mean is a clarity in the definition of ownership. Clarity. And this does not only apply to oil and gas and hydrocarbon resources, but also to other solid minerals, for example. In Zamfara, people are mining gold. They are mining gold. Who are the people mining gold? Who are they paying these monies to for mining gold? Okay? So in the case of Abuja, for example, or Lagos, you get a piece of land, you sell it for billions. Land, the same survey plan. But in Bayelsa, in Delta, in Rivers, in Akwa Ibom, when you see oil or gas beneath, you change that legal concept. You know? You throw all known common law jurisprudence.
Yes, and I want to know your personal perspective, because right now Bayelsa derives only 13% of the entire revenue you remit to the federal government.
That itself is a fallacy, Osasu. If you own land, you own not only everything above it, you also own everything beneath it. And the Nigerian government, by positive legal legislations, most of which were fashioned, imposed on us by the military. Our views were not sought. Military decrees. They have taken away that and say in the case of oil and mineral resources, you don't own what is under it. So now, in 13% derivation, the so-called 13% by the constitution, imposed constitution, first of all, what oil producing states, including Bayelsa, get is very far from 13%. The most powerful entity in Nigeria is not the federal government. Federal government may deceive itself that it's the most powerful. But of recent, there has been a gradual realization of that fallacy. The most powerful entity in Nigeria is the NNPC.
Every Nigerian citizen, by virtue of his or her humanity, is entitled to certain fundamental human rights. These human rights are available to all citizens, regardless of their race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status, and without discrimination.
Nigeria has been so abused that Nigerians actually are in an abusive relationship with their government. And so you find them sometimes even supporting, just like somebody in an abusive relationship where they support their abusers. So they end up doing that. They support their oppressors because that's all they have known, and they are always afraid of the unknown. Over time, some people have had to pay with their lives. People have been killed, people have been arrested, people have been shot down just for having voices.
We are a victim of systematic decay or an abuse of rule of law, and is being encouraged by the federal government. And not only this federal government, it has become a culture in Nigeria where government is always right. You heard the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Malami, before the National Assembly said the national security supersede human rights. How?
The difference between a dictatorship and a democracy is the respect for the rule of law. That's all. Nothing else. The fact that I can speak boldly and I'm not scared that any government will arrest me, in as much as I do not speak wrongfully or falsely.
During successive military regimes, how did we get about democracy in 1999?
We were on the streets on a daily basis. Ganifa with me, myself, few. We were not more than 10, 15. They will gas us. They will use helicopters to gas us from the sky. On one occasion, Ganifa with me collapsed. We carried him on our shoulder. They beat many of us. They killed some. A person like Bagal Dakato was killed. Some ran abroad into exile. Some of us stayed back. We said we will not go anywhere.
An organization like Legal Aid Council, who's supposed to stand with the poor one, should be well funded, so that an abused person or whoever thinks his or her right has been violated by anybody should be able to approach the court of competent jurisdiction to seek redress. Financial autonomy for judiciary, so that the justices today shouldn't be cash and carry.
I was in my office. All of a sudden, they bring police to come and arrest me. What happened? Nobody tell me. All I know, what happened? Nobody explained. It's against my right. So you see, before you even a police, you move anybody from where, tell him what is his offense. Tell him. The law says you should let him know his offense before you move him away. What is my this? Nobody tell me. It's against my human right, please.
Like now, a police accosted you on the road. Where are you coming from? And before you know it, you say you bring your phone. You want to share your document. You want to check information there. Who are you? And those are your personal information. He does not have the right to check those things. By that, your human rights have been violated.
Do you know that about 3% of Nigerians die through suicide, according to recent statistics, and that this has become the new norm in the country? Do you know that in the 1990s, Nigerians were classified as the happiest people in the world who could never end their own lives, despite the challenges that faced the country at that time? The big question begging for urgent answers here is, when did this ugly menace of suicide begin?
So it is not surprising, actually, when you consider the massive gap between the rich and the poor in this country. It is not surprising that all of a sudden we are seeing an upsurge in suicide. It's not surprising. Young people are scandalized. They are seeing the wealth that a few people are displaying. It is a society that is so unequal. Today's Nigeria is one of the most unequal societies in the world.
Life is good, but life is full of challenges. Life is full of paradoxes, and that is why you hear, the more you look, the less you see.
Just because they're having it good at this time doesn't mean you are not good. You're good in your own way. Everybody who goes on a particular track of race of life, they would get there they would never really get there at the same time, but they'll get there all the same. So if it's not your turn, it's not your turn. If it is, then it is.
We who are religious people, who are Christians and Muslims, we can't afford to contemplate suicide in spite of difficulty. We should recognize that hardship is part of life. Hardship is part of life. Distress is part of life. The best human beings whose stories we know are not people who have never had challenges. They are people who have overcome enormous challenges.
Maternal mortality remains unacceptably high in Nigeria, the reason being that several contributing factors remain unaddressed. In comparison to developed countries, where this unfavorable epidemic has been controlled greatly.
Well, it's very unfortunate, but maternal mortality is based on different reasons. Some of them is as a result of lack of knowledge, because a lot of women, they don't want to go to the hospitals because of traditional reasons, religious reasons. Another also is lack of financing, because there's no access to adequate primary health care services.
The ratio of doctor to patient in this country is about 1 doctor to 6,000 patients. And the recommendation by WHO is 1 doctor to 300 patients. Do you understand it? No, rather 1 doctor to 600 patients. UK is achieving 1 doctor to 300 patients, but here is 1 doctor to 6,000 patients. Unfortunately, most of the doctors are concentrated in the urban areas. So what happened to the village? Why do you think a doctor would want to go to the village? There is no lights, there is no good road, there is insecurity. So how is it going to work there? our government is not developing our interiors.
I think there's collective responsibility across all of us in Nigeria to make sure that no woman dies giving birth. And if ever we're in the power to change anything, then we, I think, as a country, should take equal responsibility with government, with communities, with individuals, all taking responsibility and seeing what we can do collectively to change the indices in this country.
Waste management and disposal is considered one of our biggest problems in Nigeria, while policies and regulations created by successive governments and private organizations have been implemented to address poor waste management. The issue remains a recurring epidemic.
Waste management has to do with the activities related to the management of waste from its inception to disposal.
This is one thing we do every day on a regular basis. We generate waste, and we have a huge population in Nigeria. So with a population of over 170 million people in Nigeria, for example, some records put it at 200 million. We don't know that for a fact, but with that kind of record and with everybody generating that amount of waste, we're looking at between 35 to 45 tons of waste being generated annually. That is a whole lot of waste.
I don't think the issue of waste management in Nigeria is as a result of population, though it might be a contributing factor. But mainly, I think it has to do with planning and also enlightenment of the public. People casually throw waste and think it's nothing. So people need to be enlightened so that they are more aware of how the little things you throw away can come back and bite you someday.
I have been in this very bola stuff for years now. I have not seen anything. There are some holes that will go and dump them while some other people come there to pick things like irons to go and use them for their own use, But this is how we do it. We just come, pack them, dump them anywhere we feel like dumping them, or anywhere we see bushes around, we dump them. So the government have not tried, as in they have not done what we want, as in at least they should have, like every street, baskets around so that as you finish drinking your pure water, you just dump it there instead of throwing it around. And our society these days, we need good health. Hunger is everywhere, so hungry, lack of good health, somebody will die, premature death.
We should try from the point of waste generation to separate our wastes into organic and inorganic wastes, so that when these waste cleaners come to pick the waste, it will be easier for them.
Once upon a time, agriculture was a mainstay of the Nigerian economy. It was then the highest earner of foreign exchange for the country. Despite fluctuations in world prices, agriculture was contributing 85% of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and represented almost 70% of total exports, generating about 80% of our GDP in the 1960s, according to a report by the Central Bank of Nigeria in the pre-oil boom.
For Nigeria, there's a lot to gain from the agricultural sector. It's still within agriculture because our market, the local market, calls for it. Since we are not controlling population growth, we must invest hugely, heavily in agriculture so that we don't go caught begging in hand very soon.
What I'll say to government about the opportunity to address them today will be that, look, you need to take things a bit more seriously. It's not just enough to design papers. It's also important to measure the effect of what you've done. Do you understand? And the key issue affecting agriculture today is security. There's no policy you're going to implement anywhere that will work if the land you're going to work on is not secure.
The farming population in Nigeria is aging, all right? Average age of a farmer right now is 60 or above, all right? And we have a lot of young people. Imagine what will happen when these people age and they die, all right? There are not going to be any replacement. So one thing the government can do right now is to harness the treasure we have in youth.
What I think government should do, which of course we've put in print media and also made available to several successive governments, we hope that government picks it up, is to to consider agriculture beyond having farmers or encouraging individuals to go and farm. It has not worked anywhere. From Brazil to Australia to Germany, it has never worked. I cannot say that Nigerian youth are lazy. Farms are there. Look at arable land. Just go to farm and plant. No education. It's unstructured. It will not work.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for your support in 2019. We look forward to your support in 2020, and we look forward to your comments and your feedback on how we can continue to improve the show and ways that we can also continue to flesh out the content of TOS TV Network, which brings you news from Africa by Africans. Follow us on social media at The Osasu Show, at TOS TV Network, at Osasu Igmanadian, and at The Osasu Show Foundation on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll see you next year in 2020. God bless you.